Let me just show you what I did with my border. As you can see here, I have a black border on all four sides, and all I did is I just scaled everything all the way back to just some simple shorthand here, border 2 pixels solid and black. And of course, that's giving me this result here. Okay, wonderful stuff. Now, I want to scale back just for a second. When I first started discussing the box model with you, I said that there were 3 primary properties. We saw padding. We saw border. The one that's missing, the one that we haven't seen yet, is margin. And I'm sure you recall my discussion on margin. I said that margin was the space on the outside of your rectangle. So in other words, the space above the object, below the object, on the right-hand side of the object, and of course also way over on the left-hand side. And of course, there's longhand and there's shorthand methods for applying margin. So let's go and check it out. I'm going to flip back over to my code, of course. I'm looking for the ID selector that's controlling the div that I want to format. And I'm going to go and throw in some margin here, right on the end. What I can do here is I could go margin-top to specify the space above the object, full colon space, and then throw in some kind of a value, maybe 50 pixels, something like this. Save that up, and then back over to the browser and refresh. And there we go. Now we have 50 pixels of space above this object, which is wonderful. And of course, I could do that for the other 3 sides. Give me a moment here. I'm just going to break things down onto separate lines just to make it a little bit easier for you to see. So I could go margin-bottom, and then maybe for whatever reason, I want 100 pixels of space below this object. Save and then refresh. There we go. So now British Columbia and Victoria and all the content that follows is pushed down the page by the value that I specified, 100 pixels. And of course, I can also go on the right and also on the left. So I could go margin-right, and maybe I'll increase this value maybe to 200 pixels. And same with the left, margin-left, 200 pixels, or whatever value you want, right? Save that up and then refresh. And now I have this object sort of sitting almost in the middle of the page. So in other words, it's getting crushed in on the left side and also way over here on the right-hand side by whatever value I specified. Again, in my case, 200 pixels. So there we go. So now we're almost kind of getting into page layout, which, by the way, is where we're headed. We have to know about the box model first, and padding and borders and margin and all the rest of it before we get to page layout. So we're segueing nicely here. Now, once again, this is the long way to specify your margin, which is nice because, again, we can isolate all 4 sides, which is really nice, really convenient, if I want different values for all 4 sides. But what if I'm in a situation where I want to specify the same value on all 4 sides? Well, you've already seen this with padding, and it works exactly the same way here with margin. So what I would do is I would just say margin, full colon space, and then some sort of a value, maybe 100 pixels, right? Or whatever value I like. Save that up and then refresh, and now I have 100 pixels of space on all 4 sides, top, bottom, right, and left. When we were working with the padding, I also mentioned that you could cram all 4 values into one property. We can do the same here with margin. So margin, first value is going to be top. Now, again, I used the example or the trick that I use, which is a clock face. So top and then right, which is going to be my 3 o'clock. Maybe I'll set that to 250 pixels. And then the bottom, maybe I'll set that to 100 pixels as well. And then the right, maybe I'll go with 250 again, something like this. So top, first value, right, bottom, and left. Save that up and then refresh, and there's my results. All right, wonderful. Now, there was something that I neglected to mention with padding, which we can also use with margin here as well. This is another shorthand method, and I'll show you how this works here. Notice the values that I have here for the top and the bottom are the same, and the value that I set here for the right is also the same as the left value. So I can string it all out the way I've done here, which is just fine. It works wonderfully. Or I could shorten this up. What I could do is I could knock off 2 of the values. So now how it works is instead of going top, right, bottom, left, it goes top, bottom, left, right. And don't forget, you can use this with margin, and you can also use this trick with padding. So if I save this up and flip back over to my browser and refresh, no change. Okay, so that's a neat shorthand trick that you can use. And there's your margin as well. So as always, you might want to take a moment and fiddle around a little bit with your margin. You saw how we can isolate one side away from the other sides by specifying it, margin dash, and then the side, top, bottom, left, right. Or you saw some shorthand tricks in there as well for setting your margin.